My ex tried to sell my PS5, then smashed it with a baseball bat when caught. So, I pressed charges right away. I'm 27, and for the past few weeks, I'd been drowning in work deadlines and family obligations. Between pulling extra shifts at the office and helping my mom recover from surgery, I barely had time to sleep, let alone game. My PS5, a cherished gift from my father that had pride of place in my entertainment center, sat largely untouched during this hectic period. Helen and I had been dating for just over a year, living together for 6 months. We had what I thought was a solid relationship built on mutual respect and understanding. Sure, she'd occasionally tease me about my gaming habits, but I never imagined she harbored any real resentment toward my hobbies. We had an unspoken agreement about respecting each other's possessions. At least I thought we did. Everything changed on that fateful Saturday afternoon. I was catching up on some work emails when our doorbell rang. Through the window, I spotted a stranger on our porch, repeatedly checking his phone with an impatient expression. Helen was in the kitchen at the time, and something about her reaction to the bell caught my attention. She jumped slightly, then tried to appear casual as she said, "I'll get it." Something in her voice seemed off, a slight tremor that made my instincts tingle. I followed her to the door, hanging back slightly as she cracked it open. "Hey, I'm here about the PlayStation 5 you posted," the stranger said, glancing at his phone again. "We agreed on 300, right?" My heart skipped a beat. Helen stammered, "Oh, I meant to message you. There's been a slight change of plans." She tried to position herself between me and the doorway, but I stepped forward. "What PlayStation 5? I asked, though I already knew the answer. The stranger, looking confused, turned his phone screen toward me. There was a Facebook Marketplace listing with crystal clear photos of my PS5, complete with shots of my TV stand and living room setup. The price was well below market value, practically a steal. The buyer, clearly annoyed, mentioned he'd driven 45 minutes to get here. The listing said it was still available, he added, scrolling through what appeared to be a conversation with Helen. We confirmed the time and everything. I apologized to him, explaining there had been a mistake. The console wasn't for sale. He left grumbling about wasted time and gas money, while I turned to face Helen, my blood beginning to boil. "Care to explain why my PS5 is listed for sale online?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Helen's response was a masterclass in deflection. "It's not a big deal," she said, waving her hand dismissively. "You haven't even touched it in weeks. I figured you wouldn't miss it, and we could use the money for something important." "Something important?" I pressed, already dreading her answer. That's when the truth came tumbling out. Her sister's wedding was approaching, and apparently, the happy couple had their eyes on some extravagant designer homeware set. Helen, determined to make a good impression, had decided my rarely used gaming console was the perfect sacrifice to fund this lavish gift. "We're expected to bring something impressive," she explained, as if this justified her actions. "I don't have the cash right now, and I was sure you'd understand if it's for family. You can always buy another PS5, it's not like you're broke." I stared at her, struggling to process the sheer audacity. "So instead of asking me, you decided to secretly list my property for sale? You don't see how completely messed up that is?" "I was trying to do something nice for my sister," she protested. "Her wedding is once in a lifetime. Your gaming is just a hobby." The conversation devolved from there. I demanded to know why she hadn't simply asked me first, and her response left me speechless. "Because you'd have said no. This wedding is important, and your gaming toy is just a luxury we can do without." That night was tense. Helen retreated to the bedroom, while I sat in the living room, staring at my PS5 and wondering how many other times she might have tried to sell my belongings without my knowledge. I checked our closets and storage spaces, half expecting to find more of my things listed online. The next morning, I insisted we have a real conversation about what happened. Helen tried to brush me off, claiming she had errands to run, but I stood firm. We needed to address this breach of trust. Her attitude hadn't improved overnight. If anything, she doubled down on her justification. "You're blowing this out of proportion," she said, rolling her eyes. It's not like I was stealing. I was just rearranging assets for a better cause. That phrase, rearranging assets, made my skin crawl. My possessions weren't just resources for her to reallocate at will. When I pointed this out, she launched into a guilt trip about family obligations and her sister's expectations. I can't just show up with some cheap gift, she insisted. My sister's done so much for me, and she expects something special. You've been ignoring that console anyway. I thought you'd understand. I tried explaining that it wasn't about the console itself. It was about trust and respect. That PS5 was a gift from my father, I told her. But even if it wasn't sentimental, it's still my property. You had no right to try selling it behind my back. She scoffed. Oh, so now it's some precious heirloom? I've never seen you treat it that way. That's just a convenient excuse. Our argument escalated. She accused me of being selfish and uncaring about her family's needs. I countered that there were countless alternatives. She could have saved from her paycheck, asked her parents for help, or simply contributed a more modest gift within her means. Then we look cheap, she snapped. My sister expects something substantial, and I'm not going to disappoint her. She stormed out to clear her head, and while she was gone, I discovered the Facebook Marketplace listing was still active, just marked as on hold. I texted her, demanding she take it down immediately. Her response was telling. Fine, if you're going to be this petty about it, I'll figure out another way to pay for the gift. When she returned that evening, she acted as if nothing had happened. No apology, no acknowledgement of the breach of trust, just business as usual. I confronted her one final time, hoping she might finally see reason. That's when everything exploded. Her face contorted with rage as she stormed into my bedroom. I heard drawers being yanked open, items clattering, and then she emerged with my baseball bat, an aluminum Louisville Slugger I'd kept from my college days. You care about this stupid console so much, she screamed, charging toward the entertainment center. Let's see how much it matters when it's in pieces. I lunged to stop her, but I was too late. The bat connected with the PS5 with a sickening crack, sending plastic shrapnel flying across the room. She didn't stop there. She struck it again and again, each impact punctuated by her shouts. Now it's broken. No one can have it. Are you happy now? The scene was surreal. My PS5 lay in ruins, its sleek black exterior shattered, internal components scattered across the floor like technological confetti. The controller had been caught in the crossfire, split clean in half. Even the TV stand bore scars from her wild swings. In that moment, watching her stand there panting, still gripping the bat, I saw her true colors with perfect clarity. This wasn't just about a gaming console or a wedding gift. This was about control, entitlement, and a complete disregard for boundaries. Get out, I said, my voice eerily calm. Pack your things and leave. Now. She tried to twist the narrative, threatening to tell everyone I was a heartless jerk who refused to help with a family emergency. I called her bluff. Go ahead, I said. Tell them how you tried to secretly sell my property, then destroyed it when you got caught. See how that plays out for you. While she packed, I documented everything. I took photos and videos of the destroyed PS5, screenshots of the marketplace listing, and saved our text conversations. I knew I'd need evidence for what came next. The next day, I filed a police report and pressed charges for destruction of property. The evidence was comprehensive, not just the smashed console, but the listing proving premeditation and text showing her admission and lack of remorse. The responding officer was thorough, taking detailed notes and photos of the damage. The legal process moved quickly. Helen was charged with criminal mischief and destruction of property. Her initial defense, that she lived there too and had a right to dispose of shared property, fell apart when I produced proof that the PS5 was a gift from my father, complete with the original receipt and a card. The judge was particularly unimpressed by her attempt to justify the destruction as an emotional response to my unreasonable attachment to material things. The security camera footage from my apartment building's hallway, showing her calmly retrieving the bat before her outburst, didn't help her case either. In the end, she was ordered to pay full restitution for the PS5, plus additional damages for the damaged TV stand and controller. The judge also mandated anger management classes and placed her on probation. More importantly, she now has a record of her actions, a consequence that could impact her future employment and housing opportunities. Throughout this ordeal, I received a barrage of messages from her family and friends. Her sister was particularly vocal, berating me for ruining her wedding by pressing charges. I responded to each message with the same calm recitation of facts. Helen attempted to sell my property without permission, then violently destroyed it when confronted. Most people backed off when they heard that version, though some still tried to minimize her actions or suggest I should have been the bigger person. The apartment feels different now. I've replaced the PS5, though I had to dip into my savings to do it. The new one sits in the same spot as the old one, but I've installed a security camera facing the entertainment center. A sad reminder that trust, once broken, is hard to fully restore. Looking back, I'm grateful I caught the sale attempt when I did. But I'm even more grateful that her true colors came out before we'd committed to a longer future together. Someone who would secretly sell your belongings, then destroy them out of spite when caught, isn't someone you can build a life with. The most expensive lessons in life often come disguised as relationship failures. In my case, the cost was a destroyed PS5 and some emotional turmoil, but it could have been much worse. I could have married someone who saw my possessions as disposable assets and my boundaries as optional suggestions. These days, when I game on my new PS5, I sometimes think about Helen and that baseball bat. But mostly I think about the bullet I dodged. Sometimes the most valuable thing you can learn from a relationship is what you're not willing to tolerate in the next one. As for Helen's sister's wedding, I heard they ended up with a nice set of bath towels from their registry. Apparently, that was good enough after all. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them, so please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.